This live episode was recorded to raise money for my dear cousin Jesus Jimenez Carrero, a 28-year-old father of three who spent the last 3 years of his life battling a rare form of cancer. Unfortunately, Jesus passed away just a few days after the fundraiser was held. He was everyone's big brother, and we want to dedicate this episode to him and his family. So please donate in the description below to support his wife and his 3 children after his passing. Your help really means the world. And Zeus, I love you forever, big bro. We live to carry on your legacy of kindness and friendship. One day, I know I'll see you again.
But hello. What's up, everyone? How are y'all feeling? So I'm Celeste. I'm the host of the Untitled Archives, a podcast coming to you soon. This podcast archives the stories and legacies of Laurentians and folks of the Merrimack Valley. The Untitled Archives is a collection of stories and photographs from community members to document and preserve our existence in this beautiful, beautiful city. And in tonight's conversation, this will be an Untitled Archives X Old Dirty Time Capsule crossover episode. Yeah, let's give some snaps to the title. Tonight we're gathered here to celebrate Daniel and his first published novel, Twice Upon a Time. Daniel Elias Carrero is a Dominican-American writer, public speaker, and podcaster who grew up traveling between the Midwest and East Coast before settling here in Lawrence, Mass. He got his bachelor's in creative writing and nonprofit organizing from Providence College and is currently in the process, not even currently, it's out now. Daniel's written work, podcast, and social entrepreneurship exemplifies his focus on community health and masculinity, as well as his diverse range of thought. That's you.
Good looks.
I remember when I met you. We met through mutual friends back when we were in high school. So this was some time now. And we definitely did Lawrence teen shit.
Yeah. There was that one time me and Celeste were smoking weed in somebody's apartment, and then we had to walk all the way across town for some reason. I forgot why, but it was like an hour walk.
Think like Jackson Street to like deep in Tower Hill.
That was like a 20-30 minute walk. I was bugging.
I definitely walked into a pole and was like making direct eye contact with everyone, and no one was like, "Shorty, there's a pole in front of you."
Yeah. I think Celeste was mildly concussed after that, but you know what I mean?
And we kept it walking.
Yeah.
But I knew him during his SoundCloud rapping era, and I knew him as a writer, the writer that he is, the writer that he was, and I've always been a fan of how he's been able to craft these worlds through his words, right? He really is a true storyteller. It's an honor to be here and to like host this conversation with y'all, to celebrate you, to celebrate your work. During the day, Daniel and I are co-workers now. He, like we mentioned before, is the producer for my show, but there's so much I still learn from him and hear from him.
I also teach creative writing, and I'm honestly really digging it. It's a good gig.
Yeah. But Daniel, how are you? How are you feeling tonight?
My catchphrase is, I can't complain. I really can't. Life is very good. I'm surrounded by a bunch of loving and beautiful people. Like literally everyone in here has seen me at different moments and have encouraged and supported me. There's honestly no other room I would want to be in right now. So I really appreciate y'all.
Yeah, so sweet. But Daniel, is there anything else you'd like to tell us about yourself?
I think we're going to talk about how I got to Lawrence, right?
Yeah.
I'm just down to get right into it.
Alrighty. I definitely love asking people when they and their family got here to Lawrence, what that journey was like, right? Because when we think about Lawrence as the immigrant community that it's always been, we all have a story that got us here, whether someone knew of someone that was already here, right? So how and when did Lawrence appear in your and your family's life story?
It was so far from view. I had never even heard of this city. I was about 13 years old. I was living in the Dominican Republic from 11 to 13. I did that weird thing. Instead of being born in DR and coming to the US, I was born in the US and then I went to DR and then I came back. And it was a really weird summer, that transition. I started off in Ohio, living with my cousin Jesus, who we're currently raising money for. Please don't forget to donate. And his family, my cousins Victor, my cousins Eliana. We're like the only Dominicans in Ohio. Like, believe me, they all think we're Mexican. It's kind of funny. And so, yeah, I was out there. I was so troubled and like angry because DR was really rough for me for 2 years. And when I came back, it was just the beginning of an emotional process. So I was out in Ohio, I came back to New York, and then somehow I ended up in Nashville, New Hampshire for like a month or two.
Nashville?
In Nashville, New Hampshire, yeah. I was in Nashville for like a month or two, living in a room with my mother at her at her cousin's house. And shouts to them for really helping us out.
Yeah.
But by God, is the minimum wage in New Hampshire, you know what I'm saying? Not sustainable. I need to raise that $7.50, you know what I mean, to like at least a good 10, right? But yeah, we were really struggling out there in Nashville, and my mom was just like, we were kind of desperate. So luckily my aunt, my father's aunt living in Lawrence, just called us up, and she was like, yo, just come live here with us. Like, we'll figure it out. We'll get you settled. So we go, I live in my aunt's basement for 1 year, and my mom is just hustling. She gets a good enough job where she could eventually get us into our own apartment where we've been living at since I was like 14, 15 now. And I just remember too going through a lot of battles with my mother in that basement because I was a rebellious adolescent, and that didn't change for a long time. At least the adolescent part has changed. The rebellious part is still a little there. But yeah, that's how I got to Lawrence. Eventually I go to Lawrence Catholic Academy. I make my first round of friends. Shout out to Romulo Cabrera, that's my boy to this day. Shout out to Alex Capellan, that's my boy over there. You know what I mean? And yeah, that was really my introduction to Lawrence. And all I remember doing was just walking my ass off, walking from north to south, from east to west, from Tower Hill to Prospect to the SLE, to the Weatherby, all the way to the, what you call that place where they got the suburbs at? Mount Vernon? You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I fell in love with Lawrence. And Lawrence, I felt like really adopted me. So I really have a lot of gratitude and love for the city, you know what I'm saying? For real. That's that story, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and now in terms of your book, through reading it, there were many moments where I found comparisons between Little Lancet and Lawrence, right? So how did Lawrence serve as an inspiration?
I don't know if this is just me, but my adolescence was of the utmost importance. Because that's why I think I love Lawrence so much, because I spent my teen years here. But I feel like I can't say I still got my ties and my love to Ohio and New York, but Lawrence is just like where we made memories. Lawrence became the landscape to the book, and not just obviously the location, but the people, the memories. And I think, the core memory that drives the book forward, well, honestly, the deaths of the young people that happened when I was going through, my adolescence. When I was 16, I remember the homie Lee Manuel, I believe was his name. He was murdered, and I remember hearing about that death. I remember just wanting to like collapse, because that was the first time like I felt death was like really that close to me. 6 degrees of separation, somebody I knew him, and even just that amount of proximity, it was like, it was a bit traumatizing because I was like, damn, that could have been me. And and even the manner in which he died too, like that really, we all put our love and faith in people, and we never know when we may be betrayed or not, you know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna hold that there. And then there was the death of Lisa, Fears Unleashed. That happened maybe a couple years later, but those are two memories that really drove the book forward. I was trying to understand, I think, through the book, how to process those emotions, experiences, and how I was going to make my own way and how I was going to survive. And I remember the irrepressible fear of just like, if I don't do something now, if I don't make an impact, make a difference, then I would never be remembered. And that's cap, because we remember people based on the love that they share with us, not the accomplishments that they achieve. That's why I had to quit rap music, you know what I'm saying? Because I was out here just trying to be somebody through that instead of just trying to be myself and just love, you know what I'm saying? Also, just a bunch of fights that we got into landing the book. A whole bunch of kind of drugged out episodes where we was on some crazy shit, you know what I'm saying? I won't lie. The ages of 14 to 16 to 18 were very wild, and there were many illicit activities committed, but we'll leave it at that.
Honestly, you even touching upon that, I feel like for me as a reader, when I was going through the experience of looking through the book, I felt like it was a tale of a lot of what we had gone through during our teen years, growing up here in the city. Lee was probably one of the first people I had met when I had transferred to LHS through mutual friends, and I vividly remember our early mornings together, starting off our day in the library. Michelle, you were there then. And when it had all happened, I felt like there was so many of us to this day still feel like so much has been left unanswered, and I feel like with this book you preserve a lot of these people and their memories and love alive. So I really appreciate you for that. I know we're here to not talk about the book too much, but something that as soon as I opened up the book, as a lover of Lawrence history, the book right off the bat starts and places you in something that's a little bit of a mirror to what had happened in the '84 riots here, which I feel like is something that as a community we don't address or talk about as much. I think there's a pattern here in our community where these historical moments of importance get shushed and pushed into corners of silence. And the '84 riots, which I encourage all of you here, if you have family members who were here in '84, to really ask those questions of what it was like to be in this community then and how that time period really was. Folks literally fighting to live here, to be here, to have their stance here, and then I feel like even then that was kind of the shift of we're here, we're staying here.
That was the moment Lawrence became home to this Latino community. I think mostly, you know what I'm saying? So they were race riots, if anyone's particularly provoked by that comment, you know what I'm saying? So
we're talking a lot about the past, but what's a Lawrence memory that you hold dear?
Damn. I remember, this is kind of dating myself. One day, when I was walking back from Movement City, shouts Movement City, I got jumped and I broke my jaw. and I was wired shut for about 3 to 4 weeks. I recovered far more quickly than the doctors anticipated. They were like, what?
It was his through the wire era.
It was my through the wire era, like no cap. And I vividly remember walking through most doors whenever I would go to my homie's crib. And I was like, yo, I'm outside. They'd be like, I just come in. They would hit play. This was Eric. This was Eric specifically. He would hit play, and it was Through the Wire by Kanye. And I was heated because I was like, damn, bro. But shouts to all my homies, because even in that period, they just stood by me and they were like, yo, bro, don't worry. When you come back, you're going to be better than you was before. And yeah, it sucked having my jaw wired shut for as long as I did, but now I really, really appreciate being able to chew my food. And yeah, the little things, man. It's the little things.
You talk a lot about your boys and how they were a source of like support for you coming through in the city. How were you able to weave them through in this novel?
Yeah, so I actually talked about this a couple times with the homies. Is like all the characters. There is no character that you can point to one of my homies and be like, "This is you." But all of the characters, you could point to them and see a little bit of all of us, especially all of my homies in them. You know what I mean? I think about Jeremiah. I think about how hot-headed and kind of loud I am. And I think about my homie J-Ron. And I think about his experiences and the shit he went through. Living at home with his dad and just doing different things, right? I think about the character Salvador Jr. He's a scholar like me, but by God, he's also kind of a coward. You know what I'm saying? And not in like the worst sense, but it's like you need a little bit of fear, and he has a very strong and healthy sense of fear. Okay, he's the one telling his homies like, "Yo, we should get the fuck out of here," and then they don't listen. Okay, and I think also another character, Salvador Sr. This one was inspired by the homie Joshua Pichardo.
Joshua.
He's not here. He's somewhere out there in Lawrence, maybe working on his Puma work. But I've always been inspired by his art. And I remember like being 16, 15 and like walking into this abandoned building somewhere on Island Street and just seeing one of his pieces like just thrown up on like this dusty ass brick. And it just like made the whole room beautiful. You know what I mean? And so I based one of the characters on him and or inspired by him, and just in the painting aspect. You know what I mean? So yeah, just always taking a little bit from everywhere I go and almost creating new people. You know what I mean? Yeah.
How long did this work sit with you?
So I should also like give even the preface to that. I remember when I first told somebody I wanted to write a book, I was like, I'll write it when I'm 27. And then I met the dean of my school, Dean Ralph Tavares, Dean T. He's an OG.
This is at Providence?
Yeah, this is at Providence. And he looked at me like I was stupid. And he was like, why are you gonna wait? You can do it right now. And I was like, oh shit, I didn't even think about that. And yeah, so I started it in college. Really, like during COVID, I just started writing like sketches. And then I think it was maybe around like, yeah, it was like 2020 to like 2022 was the main body of work was created. So it took about 2 years. 2023 was really just trying to figure out like how to bring it to y'all in a way that would not require me to acquire an agent or a publisher. Because I know I'm trying to be that for myself, you know what I mean? But yeah. It's a journey, man. It's an experience. Just gotta sit my ass down once a day for an hour and just get something on the page. You know what I mean? 2 years of that eventually worked.
How does it feel now to see all that work manifest into what we're here for today?
It feels wonderful. It feels humbling because I feel a lot of like praise coming my way, but I also feel the need to remind myself, yo, this is one step in the journey, and these people are uplifting you to keep taking that journey and keep moving forward. I feel proud. Sometimes I open up the book, I'll read through a page or two and I start crying because I'm just like, damn, I'm nice.
Yeah, hype yourself up, Daniel.
Like, I'm nice, bro. And the crying doesn't happen because I'm nice. The crying happens because what I wrote just hits me so hard. It's just like experiencing that emotion again. And I hope y'all have a similar experience when you read it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not even gonna lie. There were moments I had to like put it down, like, ooh, gotta really unpack this. Gotta sit with that. But I think that's important healing work that we must do too.
1,000%. Yo. I think the book is dedicated towards healing. Particularly, I'm a man, and I feel like I really only understand the male experience, and I'm only scratching the surface there. So I've always just seen like the pain that my brothers go through, and not like just my biological brothers, but like I'm talking about my brothers out here in the street. And shouts to my homies over there, and I just want us to be okay. You know what I'm saying? And I want us to be good, and I want us to love ourselves and to love each other. That's the only thing that's gonna save us in the end. Yes, sir.
Yeah, snap that up. While we're here talking about your journey, like publishing for yourself and having that sort of agency over your work, is there any advice you would like to share with us or any folks that are possibly wishing to share their work or go on the journey of self-publishing?
Don't follow the rules. I get into a lot of rule following arguments with people. And I think one of the biggest things that hold us back is thinking that there are certain expectations, certain things we have to do to accomplish them, when really it's like, just stop overthinking and do it. Luckily, I'm a very impulsive individual, so it actually made the writing process very easy. I've done a number of reckless things, like taking out a car loan, and wishing I did different things, but the wheels are in motion. I got the car, I gotta drive it. You know what I mean? If you're thinking about getting that car, now I'm not really talking about a car. If you're thinking about it, just do it, bro. Stop worrying about the consequences. Just run out and take that leap of faith. You might land on pillows, or you might land on brick, but you won't know until you land. All right.
We also wanted to open up part of this night for the audience to share any questions. I feel like we've definitely kept it pretty vague on like the premise of the book and what you might encounter. But if you do have questions about the book, about Daniel, about any of this, it's your chance to ask a question.
Real quick, because I do want to tell this story. My homie Tommy Donahue was here. If he was here, he would ask me to share the story. So
he specifically requested for this to be shared.
I met homie when I was out at Oxford. After a period of just going hard body on academics, I eventually got into some bullshit, per usual. And we were smoking outside the building that we was living out, Jeffrey Warnock. Love that place. Shouts to homie Fadi and Sedan. Those are my brothers. And I just remember this old white dude, tall as fuck, just pulled up on us. He was like, hey, what are you guys doing out here? He pulled up on us and he was like, you guys know this is illegal, right? You guys know this is impermissible. My man Tommy just threw that shit on the floor, mad sneaky, like, bro, we pulled back for it. And then we get the call from our advisor. Shouts Josephine. But she brings us into the office, and I'm preparing for the El Boche. I'm preparing my ass to get on a plane back to America. And she goes, so, I heard you guys got caught smoking a little spliff. And that's just like this little 67-year-old lady, just like mad casual, was like, yeah, just go farther away next time. And I was like, damn, we just getting off like that? All right, bet. I looked at my boy and I was like, it's fine, let's go, we out here. And then we did exactly that. We went far a little way next time. So yeah. Just share that story. Just want to share that for Tommy. On that note, opening the floor for questions. Anything? Zayden, you asked mad stuff, but don't ask the first question that you wrote, okay? That's a little intense.
Yeah, that was pretty intense.
Give y'all a second. What's good? Camila, ¿qué lo que?
So, I know you mentioned having that, like, most of the characters are based off of individuals in your life. Question, what would be the most impactful, like, I want to say individual in the book or character that made the biggest impact? That you're like, nah, I can't leave this person out. But it was like, you know what I mean?
Damn. So I would say that the main characters are actually Jeremiah and Emmanuel. They're cousins. However, there's another pair of friends who I had the hardest time figuring out where to place them. But by placing them where I placed them, I was able to strike at the core of what I wanted to accomplish in this book. The two most vital characters are Ishmael and Salvador. Okay, Ishmael and Salvador, you meet them initially in the prologue and again in the epilogue. Yeah. They're the ones who are born during like the early Lawrence years, where the Dominicans and Puerto Ricans had just moved in, and they really I guess this is somewhat of a spoiler, but like they're really the ones telling the story, and it's really their voice and their memories that we're seeing in a really weird way. I won't get into like the metaphysics and shit. The book is kind of like, you know what I mean? It's what's the word? Surreal, that's the word. There's a lot of surreal things happening, and a lot of dreams, and a lot of like illusions, and trying to distinguish between delusion and reality. And so it's really through their eyes we're watching everything happen, you know what I'm saying? They're really subtle, they're really easy to forget until you get to the end, and then you can't forget them. Because that's when I cry the hardest, is at the end of their story, you know what I'm saying?
So now you all have to pick up the book to understand.
Follow up?
Yeah.
And just to add, I think that most tables are little pieces, little snips of the book that people can taste or feel.
Yeah.
Give to you.
One of them has the Salvador and Ishmael line where Ishmael was like, yo, bro, I got a bag of paint. And then Salvador was like, yeah, but you can't paint. And he was like, no, but you can. And so, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you just need your homie to take you out the crib and go show you what you really got to do. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Any other questions?
Zayden and then Santos.
Okay.
So you mentioned how people in your life inspire certain characters. The same side of that coin, were there any characters either in literary media or in literature that you inspired you to write a similar character in your book?
I'm so glad you asked that, because yes, very much so. Y'all ever seen the Boondocks? Yeah. Can y'all make some noise for the Boondocks real quick? Shouts Aaron Magruder. He's the dude who wrote the Boondocks, and he is a fantastic writer and cartoonist. And so you meet in the Boondocks, you have Riley Freeman and Huey Freeman, but in this book you have Huey Du Bois and Riley Du Bois. I don't know if y'all remember Tom and Sarah. Tom was the lawyer who had the white wife. You know what I'm saying? Essentially, I'm like, yo, what would happen if Huey and Riley were their kids instead of from Chicago in the hood moving to Woodcrest and all that whatnot? I even straight up stole the Andover in this book is called Woodcrest.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna tell you straight up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Shouts to Boondocks, bro. Shouts to Boondocks.
It's kind of interesting to see how that would have been a source of inspiration for this.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Huey Freeman is one of my cartoon heroes, you know what I mean? So you can definitely tell I gave him a lot of ups, you know what I mean? Yeah. Santos.
Yeah, I'm gonna move seats real quick.
Do your thing, B.
So my question would be to both of you guys, make it interchangeable. When did you guys decide, like, I want to make a podcast? Like, how did you decide that's the best way to reach your audience?
You wanna tell the story first? I've been talking for a grip.
Alrighty. I think for me, when I think about diving into this like world of podcasting, I definitely had to think of what was the form of media I wanted folks to like hear these stories, right? I'm a little bit of a Lawrence like history nerd, and I think a lot about how in our community specifically, a lot of the stories that have been like documented and preserved have been stories of like white folks and immigrants that have left throughout the years. There's been like a lack of effort in documenting the stories that are happening now in our community. And as someone who like has come from a family that is always talking some shit, sitting down, getting to hear all these stories, I was like, that's how I want to do it. I just want to record these conversations that I'm having with folks. So it's storytelling through like memories, through like family photos, and really getting to sit down and share like a really personal experience of what it's been like to be in this community and to be of it. And I think that's what's works best for me. I'm also a big fan of podcasts. I listen to them a lot, and it was something I've always really wanted to play and learn about. So I'm happy to do it now. I have literally like two of my producers are in the crowd right now. Adriel Jimenez and Vania Enriquez, who have both helped me out with this. I also believe like things like this are a collective effort, and especially with this type of project. Yeah.
That's a fact. I was starting off a little on the solo end, and by God, that shit was hard. But it's little by little, I'm getting more help, right? And it's getting easier. But even to tell you, like how I decided to make a podcast, my good friend Gene Paul, who I also went to college with, he gave me this book called The Almanac of Someone Novarek. Look it up. I forget his first name. I believe he is an Indian brother. And yeah, drop mad gems in that book. And one of the gems is like, if you're thinking about starting a business, try a podcast. And then I was like, damn. Why didn't I think of that? Because I look at all my favorite shows, Flagrant with Schulte, I think about Avid Preach, and my favorite YouTubers and shit like that. And I'm like, these dudes are really just like in their cribs, just talking with their friends and shit, you know what I mean? And I think too, the other thing was like, I had a dream of starting a small business. And I had to reflect on like what I actually have to offer in terms of value to people, right? If you're a business, you have to give something to people in order, to be a business, right? And the thing that got me was I was like, damn, I was looking at my college resume. I'm like, bro, I majored in creative writing and public and community service. What the fuck can I do? I was like, it was getting really rough. I was like, oh, I know mad shit. I've read mad books. I know mad people who like to talk about shit that they know and talk about books. Let's do a podcast, bro. And that's why we did the podcast. You know what I'm saying? Just got to start off with what you have. Asset-based thinking versus the deficit-based thinking. Thinking about what your powers are and what you have instead of thinking about what you don't have. And using that as a basis for creation and creativity. You know what I'm saying? And like even now I'm like, fuck the business shit. Like I actually just like having a podcast. This shit is fun. Been learning mad shit about cameras and tech. Like I want to do a movie or something, you know what I'm saying? Because this is like, film is cool. cool. And just even having these conversations is just cool, you know what I mean? It's just ill. For sure. Shout out to homie Santos, that's my boy who be helping me on the podcast, for real. You know what I mean?
Shamelessly plugging,
Go crazy.
but on Wednesday of this upcoming week, we're officially putting out some like teaser and trailer promotional material for Untitled Archives. So
Be on the lookout for Untitled Archives next Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday, what's the number on that? 15?
it's the 15th.
It is the 15th. I don't know
So we
why
have to look in the crowd.
I looked at my watch like it was gonna tell me.
Yeah. The podcast is brought to y'all by our day job, Elevated Thought.
That was good.
Yeah. So keep an eye out. Some really
sure.
dope creatives on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Friendly.
Yo, it seems like you know, you tapped into a lot of like your history when it comes to writing this book. And all our history deals with difficult times. I wonder, like, when it came to writing this book, like, what were some of the more difficult parts to get through, or maybe one difficult part, you know, that really like is, you know, it touches on the soul, but like, you know, you gotta get it out of your system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if you know what I mean.
I kind of know what you mean, yo. Also, shouts to Fran Diego Velez and Marlene. I'm gonna butcher your last name. I always say it wrong. I'm sorry.
Marmonejos.
Thank you. It's the M's. Because y'all were my OG mentors at Gifted People and at Movement City, and straight up, like, I still look back on those experiences as fundamental for what I do today. Because low-key, if I never learned how to be a music engineer at GP and with y'all, I would have actually never gotten the job I got at Elevated Thought, working at the music program they were trying to launch.
Yo, but not for nothing, your first podcast was at Gifted.
And my first podcast was at Gifted. That's facts, that's facts.
We was wilding at that time.
That was a crazy podcast. I'm glad we didn't put it out. I would have ruined this one right now.
It was a really great show too,
Yeah. No, it was good. Just not when I was on.
It's entertainment, not knowledge.
Yeah. I guess. But yeah, yo. To answer your question, what was difficult writing the book? So, in the book, part of the book deals with suicide. A good portion of the book is asking why we shouldn't, commit that act, right? And I think the hardest part was actually deciding how to present that, how to tackle that, because it's a really hard subject conceptually as well as emotionally. And one of the things that really fucked me up when I was writing, or it was actually after I had written it and I went back and I was like, do I change this? Do I don't? There is a book called Influence, and in the book it talks about the concept of social proof. And whenever there is a highly publicized suicide, you see a lot of people suddenly feel motivated to follow through with those thoughts, and it's really sad. And I had to ask myself, how do I present this in a way that is healing more than harm? And that is, to this day, to this moment, I still don't know if I did a good job there. You know what I'm saying? Y'all read it and you tell me. You know what I'm saying?
Can I add?
Please.
Thank you for highlighting on that in the book, just because a lot of people don't know that suicide is more common in males than females.
That is true. Men are, check in on the men around you and in your lives, because, you know what I'm saying, we be going through shit that we just don't be talking about. And a lot of times it's that repression, I believe, that leads to, those thoughts and those actions. You know what I'm saying? Where we either harm ourselves or we harm others. Yeah, yo. Thank you. Yeah. Any more questions? Shouts to Adriel Jimenez. This is my brother in arms right here, for real.
Now, I wanted to ask you, you had mentioned contemplating writing a book at the age of 27. Do you feel like the book would have been any different if you would have waited those extra years to start writing that book?
I would have written something completely different. You know what I'm saying? I would have written something completely different because I'm writing something completely different right now. And even looking for the subject matter requires to understand what phase one is going through in their lives to a certain extent, right? I just got into college. I had just come out of a gap year. And I was really I was still processing a lot of things I had to process, emotionally. A lot of those deaths we experienced as youth. I remember too, even when I started writing it, somebody I knew had actually just went to jail, unfortunately, for a very harmful act. And that really, those were the things that were on my mind. You know what I'm saying? Sheesh. And to tell you what I'm working on right now, what I'm thinking about right now, I'm trying to understand religion and faith in the modern day. We live in a very secular age, and I myself don't subscribe to any particular brand. However, my father was a pastor. I grew up in the church. We used to be in the Salvation Army. My brother right there knows what's up. We went, we traveled miles and miles and miles, just, you know what I'm saying, doing that shit, like missionary work or whatever. And I have a lot of debates with myself about what God is and what God means and what faith and spirituality mean, because there is some objective thing present in our existence. Whatever it is, though, I don't know if we can access it. And I'm just trying to understand, what does it mean to have faith? What does faith even mean in the modern day? What do people mean when they say I'm spiritual, not religious? That can be very ambiguous. And while that's a nonfiction project, I'm also working on another project side by side with that. Right now, the working title is called Charon, the Ferryman. And in Greek mythology, Charon is the one that takes you across the river Styx once you enter the afterlife. And basically, in the book, we're gonna encounter different people who take a trip on that boat and who they are and what their lives were. The first person I'm writing about is Porfirio Rubirosa. We just went to a play. I highly recommend everybody go see the one-man show by Christopher Rivas.
Yeah, Sunday's the last day to watch the show.
Sunday's the last day to watch it. It's an excellent show. He's a very complicated and conflicted character.
If you need a discount code to watch the show, just talk to us.
Yo, not for real. We got flyers with a little code, and we know how to get y'all them tickets for the low, you know what I mean? Just let us know. But yeah, we will see about his life and what happened to him. But yeah.
At the same time, I feel like hearing this, the why of just wondering of what this work would have looked like had it been further down the line. I feel like, not to be tacky or on it, but in a way it's a sense of it's a capsule of that time period. That's a fact. Coming out of the perspective of you just coming out of it, right? And I think it's just as important hearing this now as it would have been further down.
Yeah. And I want to add to that too, just in the sense where that's why you're only ever going to write about what you're going through, but what you're going through is going to change. So capture it while it's here, because you're going to have something else to write about probably very soon. The problems never stop.
Yeah. I think we have one more question.
Yeah, one more. Reina, what's good?
So I just want to say shout out to Daniel. I've been friends with Daniel for 10 years, bro. I want everybody has something to drink. It's a little toast because he's
Watered down.
He would like to celebrate himself. He is so humble. But this man has studied and learned, and he's been to Oxford, and he is a published author.
child.
And I just want to say, shout out to you because you really did that. And I know a lot of times we live in survival mode and we don't recognize our own pursuits and our milestones and the beautiful things that we create for ourselves. But shout out to you. And I just want to know, how does it feel like now that you're sitting here looking at all these beautiful people that admire you and are here to celebrate you? You know, how does that feel?
Yeah. All I feel is love in my heart right now. All I feel is joy. All I feel is gratitude. I'm gonna go home and cry later because y'all really.
Yeah.
We got you. Nah, I'm playing.
I'm like, we talk about men's mental health, like address those feelings, feel it.
That was a little sarcasm on my end, but in terms of the cry part, if I wanted to cry right now, I would actually do it. You know what I mean? You gotta cry. Cry at least once a month. Cry at least once every 2 months. Just cry, because even if you don't find something to cry about, you know what I mean? Cause
Watch this damn movie, bro. Put it on. No, look, bro. I'm on that.
yo, bro, nah, Marley and me, bro, I cry every time, bro. Marley and me, just that's a in the chest. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I feel amazing. I feel grateful. And honestly, y'all are the first to be here on a very extensive and long journey. We're not done. This is a marathon, not a sprint. You know what I'm saying? So y'all keeping me going. Believe me, because I think about quitting at least once a week. So, you know what I'm saying?
Well, Daniel, I hope that all this love, all this grace, all this healing can continue to move you and guide you. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, for allowing me to be here and interview you. Thank you to the audience for sharing these questions with us too. Thank you.
To wrap it all up, I gotta give a bunch of thank yous, because this would not have been possible without a whole team of people. So, shout Reina de la Cruz, shout
Reina.
Camila Lopez, shout, you're over there now, Wilford. Shout Wilford Acosta. My man made the cover.
The illustrations that you see in this book were all done by Wilford.
Okay, not all of them. Two of them were done by my boy Evan Carey over there, by his art. My man is a beast with the paint and the brush.
Shout out to the artists.
Shout out El Taller for real, because I worked here as a teenager and now I'm here doing my show. This is a staple in our hood. Well,
Tip your bartender.
shout out Adriel Jimenez, because that's just my brother in
Brothers love.
my brother in intelligentsia. My man be asking me hard-ass questions every day, and I'm just like, damn. I be sitting here like this for an hour every day because of this guy. Fucking shouts Michelle Colado for freaking out here. Get your picture taken, yo. I don't know. I should be offering
Post for
that.
Michelle.
But yo, shouts Nathan Baez, Nat Burner. He low-key left. It's okay.
Thank you for spinning.
Oh, he's back there. Shout out Nathan for DJing. You know what I'm saying? He hooked it up. And don't forget to donate, please. Jesus Jimenez is only 28 years old, but my man is battling stage 4 cancer. He's got 3 kids, 3 beautiful kids, and we want to make sure he can be here as long as possible to be with his children.
You can find those QR codes at your table.
Look-
Donate, folks.
Yeah, look on the QR codes for the table. Look on the table for the QR codes. You know what I'm saying? One love, yo. That's a wrap for the pod, yo.